Good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Welcome to another episode of Let's Unbox HubSpot. We get to unbox Data Studio today with Jasmine. How you doing, Jasmine?
Doing great. Excited for this.
Am I crazy for trying to unbox Data Studio in all its complexity live on
No,
LinkedIn?
I think this is the best way to let people know how easy it is to get everything done in HubSpot.
All right. Well, you said it. We're going to test it out. But before we dive in, if you could speak a little bit to the purpose, I've heard about this world where I've wanted for a long time. It's certainly easier when we can talk to clients like this, where it's like, just give us all your spreadsheets,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we'll work to get it into HubSpot. Usually that's been a process of, a lot of data transformation outside of HubSpot, a lot of architecting inside of HubSpot, and then we can bring that data in. And I've heard that Data Studio might create a world where we can just like skip that part and get it into HubSpot and then bring it into our systems. Is that true?
Yes, it is supposed to be the data playground. It is to enable you wherever your data sets, whether it is your apps, your data warehouse, your spreadsheets, just bring all the data into HubSpot. So this is not your CRM. This is not the objects that you're writing it. So you don't have to think about mapping. Just bring everything in, combine it with HubSpot data, or just combine with external. You could enrich it, use AI on it, and then decide what you want to do, whether you want to write it in CRM or directly use it in automation, segmentation, or build reports of it.
Awesome. That sounds like a dream, honestly. uh, so I'm not going to waste any more time. I haven't ever used it before. This is going to be a real unboxing, and I've got some sheets here that we'll come back to. But I have a pro portal without Data Hub and an enterprise portal with Data Hub. Just want to note for viewers, if you see Data Studio with the beta tag and you have a pro portal, you have access to these 5 data sets, and that's related to the custom report builder. Is that correct?
Yes, you can report on these data sets in Custom Report Builder. This is for non-Data Hub users specifically that I'm saying that you will still have access to these data sets.
Right. Yeah. I was curious, why I wasn't seeing like the lock or the upgrade, button next to that. So that makes sense. And we see that here. So in order to play with that, we're going to come over to uh, this Value First demo portal. And I'm seeing, let's go back to intro. Um, I have a spreadsheet that I want to get in the system. And it's Google Sheet. So I'm gonna click this button, and we gotta connect to Google Sheets. I think I needed to connect. I need to check a box that I didn't. There we go. All right. Choose file. All right, so this is a data export from YouTube. And I've got options here. What would, I'm assuming there might be other options
Um,
sometimes.
in the sheet, if you have multiple sheets within the same file, so
Okay,
show up.
okay, cool. So we've got one column header row, columns. Should I trust this error message? I usually don't at this point, just so you know.
Yeah, you can go ahead and see. We have some data over here already.
Right. Um, okay, so that might relate to the amount of data that's in the sheet, maybe.
That, or if there are other integrations still running.
Okay. All right, so we have our looks like everything's here. And I'm very interested in what this could be. Setting up CRM sync.
Can you
And
tell me why you chose to do that?
what's that?
Why did you choose to set up a CRM sync versus the other option?
Um, Probably because it's less obvious how that's going to work. And
Okay.
I wanted to find out. I definitely know a lot of people maintain data over in Google Sheets. So
Mhm.
the ability to sync from there would be cool. Choose destination. So here I have objects to choose from. And this is where, yeah, let's say listings, where I often put content. So this data represents all the YouTube live streams, and I often use listings object for random content, things like that. Sync mode, create an update, sync frequency. Let's go monthly, specific days. Of the month. Wow. Okay. More flexible days. First Monday of the month. Yeah, sure. Let's change the time to at night. Match keys. Choose a column and property to be used to match rows across source and destination. So at this point, yep. Do you see people? Obviously, it's a best practice when possible to have unique IDs for things, but in this world where we're just trying to bring in spreadsheet data, we might not have figured that out yet. So are people usually trying to force that first before doing anything, or are we just bringing in data and then figuring it out most of the time?
I think the way this was designed, right, is so you don't start sending data in CRM that could have data quality issues, and then you go to use data quality command center. So the goal here is like find something that's unique, do the match so uniquely all the data is written and it doesn't create duplicates. So in the mapping step, you'll probably get stuff from video title to name, but is if there's an ID or something that uniquely identifies each row in a spreadsheet.
Right. Yeah. So let's look at this. Um, looks like we have a content ID here. So maybe we can use that one instead.
Yeah.
Um,
And you could create a new property too.
Yep. So let me make sure I don't have it ready. So say YouTube ID. All right. I still have my mapping. And if I just click map all columns, which I want to do, I know I'm making this harder for myself, but let's just take advantage of how easy this is. Subscribers. And I guess I'm representing the world. See, this is how ingrained it is that I want to get the data model right, is that I'm not comfortable with just letting a data island like floating around in HubSpot. So if I can take the time to create architecture to support the data, we'll do that once, and then we'll try the other route next. So that actually doesn't matter. I'll try to speed things up here. And now I'm guessing that I would need to refresh the page for it to sense that. So let's do that. Not a lot of information in there anyways. That's going to be a number. And if content's here, I don't need it here. Correct?
Right.
All right. So I'll just remove all that. All right.
So in the match keys, the content actually doesn't, the YouTube ID doesn't actually have anything already in place. So if you want the content to also be stored in YouTube ID, I would add it in the mapping too.
Say that again for me.
I said I would also add the content to be mapped to YouTube ID. So the new content comes in there.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So content. Is this one of those moments where I just need to refresh to see it?
You might lose that progress. We can go ahead and then
Yeah, I'll
like a
just
item
do
thing.
that for right
And then
now.
make a note.
Because now I have this. Uses HubSpot credits.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 25 credits for the set.
Yeah. So your main source over here, which is the spreadsheet, had say under 500,000 records in that. So that falls into the small bucket. So it costs you 25 credits every time you use the data set in either sync to CRM, segmentation, automation, or export. Reporting is free. So it's 25 credits every time you're syncing. So if you selected monthly, every month, 25 credits.
Okay. Yeah. And I realized up here is grayed out because I didn't actually choose anything here. So now we have create and update. And why not start the sync? And used in one place. I want that to take me to listings.
So, a question for you. Did you see that it created a data set automatically for you to bring the data into CRM?
Um, I did not, and I'm not sure what you mean.
This, when you chose the path one, which was directly synced to CRM, you were brought into the dataset builder with the dataset source selected and open to the step of like just directly sync it to CRM.
Okay. All right.
Do you have questions on why some of it is great?
Yeah, I'm trying to follow. So let me just back out of here.
Mhm.
So at this point, I've like data is successfully coming into HubSpot, right?
Yes.
All right. So we've got one source activated. And I see here, use in, I could do a report. And then workflow segment, export. Okay. I see sources over here. Adding secondary source seems very powerful. And let's just click on that, of course. Because I could bring in the other LinkedIn data related to these shows. Google Sheets. Let's see if I can find. So at this point, we have similar data. So we have data that's representing the same thing. So like as we're streaming right now, we are streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube at the same time, right? And I guess finding that some kind of unique key or some attributes to start to bring this data together. I'm curious if you have any thoughts in terms of maybe I don't sync this one. So I'm just going to move forward a little bit. Add data source.
You can
So,
always add it and then decide maybe use it separately. So this has been added to Data Studio.
right.
And
Okay.
this is where you're talking about the how do I match things? What's
Yep. If we find multiple matches, how many should we include in your data set? Only one match. So column to match on.
is there anything between the two? Is it the video name?
Yeah, name is the closest. If it's in here. So, but this is the original data set.
Mm-hmm.
So let me look at LinkedIn data. So summary is where it would be, but otherwise we're unlikely to be able to match if it's not an exact match, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's see here. So if we just, at that point, we just have to allow for multiple matches.
But you would still
All right.
need to select the key.
Right. Okay. So this is only going to work
Yes, when
if
you
there
have,
are matches expected.
yeah,
Right.
it's
So supported data.
the tables, and sometimes you can have the second table that you're trying to bring in has so many different records that are similar to the first one. So a
Yeah.
person purchasing three products, that kind of a thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So this is where you might do something like bring this, try to match this this content ID column
Mm-hmm.
over into this data set.
Mm-hmm.
Just something I've been working on with AI over the
Yeah.
past week or so.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And
so
what is your goal when you're thinking about bringing both of the sheets together?
so there's been moments where, um, so there's reporting data related to YouTube views and LinkedIn views for the same video. Sometimes YouTube doesn't work, or sometimes LinkedIn doesn't work.
Right.
So maybe they don't have exactly the same. And trying to understand like how many, and just making sure we're reporting on everything that has happened, um, is where my mind goes with that.
So if at least like the name or some other identity of that one video streaming session is similar, then you could bring both of them together and run analytics or create a report from that data set.
Right. Okay. Just seeing some other features here. This is how I change columns. Add a column
Mm-hmm.
is interesting. Wow. Okay.
How how are you feeling about the options here?
Uh, this is the part that makes me feel like I can do anything I want to do with data. I got build
Mhm.
got some formula. I can bring in other data sources and choose from there. Um, can ask AI for help. Enrichment. Yeah. Uh, this is where I'm not a data scientist, so probably not the best to say like, oh, this is missing or this is missing. But I feel like on the surface, like, what else would I need? Uh, and that's where I start to argue. If you need something else, like,
Mhm.
you probably, like, let's work on your data model. Like, maybe we could make this simpler. This is really cool for sure. Uh, and then we have filters, advanced filter view. Okay. And then we have use in. Okay. So if I wanted to bring the other, let me bring in the other one as like a
Do you want to go check the source library?
Uh, sure. Okay, so it's already here.
Yes.
And so it came in and I didn't finish the process of it being a secondary source.
Yes. But you
So
didn't get it in.
yeah, okay. So this is where data source different from data set.
Mm-hmm.
Data source or data set is collection or some combination of data sources.
Yep.
Okay. And then used to build data set. So if I click on create here, now where I could choose that source.
What do you want to focus on here? I would think about that as like the primary.
In terms of like, instead of creating another data set, like making sure I need another data set.
No, when you go into building a data set, what is the problem that you're focusing on? So going back to your data model question, and what is at the center of the problem you're trying to solve when you're in data set? Is
Yeah,
it
for me, it's like capture all data and context, like at all costs. Um, so, and then trying to associate things to help understand the context of items working together. So maybe I am looking at listings,
mm-hmm.
right? So there's all the YouTube data. And that is now inside of HubSpot as listing records. Be added to HubSpot unless you choose to sync it.
Do you want to see more columns coming in from, or like more fields from that object?
Yeah, 150 columns. Uh, or that's the max I could
That's a
see.
max. Yes.
Okay. So if I want to, let me just try some things. Same thing. Okay. Okay. All right. So choose data source columns refers to any of the sources that are already selected,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. So we could see we had,
And you could always add a source from here as well if you see that, oh, I was looking
oh,
for this field and that probably sits in my different object or different file.
okay. Now we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about the summarized view. Source you added has multiple matches possible with your primary source. Keep things tidy. Your data set has a summarized view that groups rows by the primary source. See the count of matching rows in the last column. Switch views to see details. Okay. Can you talk through the process? This is a strategic product management question.
Mm-hmm.
The process of using existing
Right.
functionality and experiences in HubSpot versus adding new things, right? Because like from a perspective of like when I see these options, I'm thinking of the reporting
Yes.
tool, right?
So, are you trying to understand how did we decide on doing a summarized or unsummarized view?
I think more from just a product management perspective, like what goes into your choices between like,
Yes.
let's try and use, I guess it's always beneficial to be able to use existing functionality in the platform, but
So,
like when does it become better to use something separate?
yeah. Um, Datasets existed as long as custom report builder existed. So a lot of the concepts that are there in custom report builder with summarized views or unsummarized views, our customers are familiar with. They've been using report builder. So we wanted to make sure that we anchored in on something that they know of because datasets did not have any views. It did not have any grouping. So when we introduced grouping or like the ability to focus on the primary object, we wanted to borrow language that they are familiar with so they feel comfortable here. How did you feel when you read about summarized and unsummarized? That actually would tell us if it worked.
Yeah, yeah, no, that prompted the question for sure.
Yeah.
That's what like the favorite part about HubSpot is like these things act the same when they act the same. Like it's easier to learn how to use new things for sure. I
So
think the challenge is when they don't act the same, right? Like they look the same, but then don't behave exactly the same. But that's where it's like the complexity level of the tool that you're using like comes into play. So sorry, you're gonna say something?
no, what do you think about this expandable view? The
Um like this part or like oh expandable. Yeah. Um I probably picked some bad data sources. My thought was that this would be start me down the path of trying to associate contacts who might have interact with, or maybe like I know I have co-hosts inside of this system, right? And starting to like, can I make the process easier of associating them?
yes. And were you thinking about wanting to know everything about your contacts and the associated listing? Or in this example, you want to focus on your listings and make sure any contact that pertains to that listing is visible?
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah. Um, I would love to go into the data model question over there. How is your listing associated with your contacts?
It might not be at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let's go over here
Do
and
you think
check
you could also check from Data Studio how they have joined both those tables? What would you do there?
if I could see it.
Yeah, because we are showing you the primary and the secondary source. So what would you do to see how did we connect them? Because we are trying to show you something.
Okay. So this is like, yeah. So just for reference for anyone watching, I was going to come here and look at the data model
Mm.
and then come over to listings, uh, that's accounts, go to listings and understand contacts, right? But I was actually able to see that right here. So if I would have had any association labels, they would show up here. Okay. Use columns instead of associations.
Yeah, if there is a particular column that's also mentioned. You could match on it, similar to how we did for external data.
Right. Okay. Um, yeah, I think we're seeing why I haven't come into here before, because I feel like I needed to, like, even though I can get the data in,
Yeah.
like now it's like, okay, what do I do with it? Or like, how do I go about, like literally, how do we combine? Um, so I feel like I can't move forward very obviously without answering this question. Um, so in terms of getting to the place where I'm just trying to understand the data together,
Mm-hmm.
um, are there other aspects?
In this case, if there were associated records between listing and contacts, and you talked about there's an association, that is what applied by default. And what it is doing is it's finding all the listing records, and any contacts that are associated with listing would show up. So if there are none, they don't show up. If you had changed the order and your focus would have been contacts, you would see all contacts and only associated listings for those contacts. So we are trying to simplify like the harder technical concepts of joins, and by combining the data by asking what do you want to focus on in the primary. Um, do you want to go and check what listings are having any contacts associated, or
Um,
would
well, that's where I just brought these in,
yes,
right?
yes. So
So yeah, go ahead.
so it's showing, if you go back to the previous card, it was going to show you that it actually didn't include any contacts. It didn't find any contacts there.
Right. So how do I understand the 261
That is
rows then?
do you have 261 contacts in this portal?
I could, I might. Yep.
Yeah. So that is the number of contacts, and the listings was that 166. And when they are matches together on your data set, it will tell you the number of rows that matched up. So if you also go to the card, it will tell you how many rows were included on the contact card itself.
Okay. So let me just do a test here. And
Yep. Perfect.
which one's at the top? 730.
So one thing I have to tell that it's going to take a little bit for the data to refresh. So if you go in and if you don't immediately see it, it's just going to take about 2 minutes or so for the data change to propagate. You can save the data set and then we can check in a few minutes, because it's going to take a little bit of time.
Right. Okay. So let's say contacts with shows. I don't know. I don't know, Jasmine, how I feel about this this clickable button. That's like grayed out.
Mhm.
I know
Well,
this is not your domain, but
no, please. This is all I do. I mean, all the feedback is for us. What do you think has happened over there?
over here,
Yeah, the save button. So
right? Like I'm starting to learn
mhm.
that it's like a different level of grayed out, but
Mm,
it still works, right? Like that's the
But your
uh,
impression was that it didn't work?
right. So if it's not highlighted
Mhm,
and it's not a different color, then I'm assuming it's inactive
mhm.
for
For
sure.
feedback, yeah.
Yeah. Um, like this,
Mhm.
right? This is gray and I cannot click on it. So I'm interested in the design decisions for sure. But I do like it's basically if you go away from the orange button
Right.
and you're trying to not be so colorful, and
Uh-huh.
I'm sure this relates to accessibility standards, then this is kind of your only option, I would think, is to start to highlight it in different ways. And this is one of those ways. But I would be surprised. Like, I'm a user that, like, tries to click just in case,
Yes.
where I don't think most users are like that.
That's
Like,
the feedback, yeah.
right. So we're gonna exit, and now we see that we made a HubSpot source. We made a HubSpot only data set that, uh, and now if I click back in there, I might be able to see the
Yeah,
update.
yeah, let's try and see, if it has already updated. Yep, you can you actually see, where I saw the data too?
Right here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So the second row is expanded. Yep.
Okay. Yep. I do like this nesting situation that
Mhm,
started showing up over in the CRM index view. I think overall the team is doing a wonderful job to try and keep us in one place or make it so we can stay in one place
mhm.
in the platform.
Right.
And this is why I focus a lot on data modeling because
Yeah.
that stuff really only works if you're getting that part right.
Yeah.
But it's super powerful when you do.
Yeah. So that was really cool to see how you found out that there were association, but perhaps there's no record. And we need to make it even clearer why there is no records. There's nothing associated yet, even if the association relationship exists. So as soon as you went in and modified that, the data coming in, that actually shows you like it's easy if a relationship exists as long as the records exist to show that.
Right. Um,
So
so, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question for you. What did you think was the main value here when you were bringing in external data to build?
Um, Definitely bringing it together into one place. Because I think often, like even if like sometimes just putting it next to trusted data can
Right.
help with like if it's outside and it's living in spreadsheets, we're having to like look at everything separately. That's where I'm not a spreadsheet wizard, but like people that are good at that and building these massive, all the time spent, like, man, all the time spent on spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
I always love this conversation where it's like, well, HubSpot's hard, right? We got to set it up. And it's like, if you took your energy of the spreadsheet setups that you do and start to bring it over here, now all of a sudden you don't have to redo it like next time. Uh, so definitely bringing it into close proximity with other data um, that I'm probably interested in, like linking all the sources. Um, yeah, I'm trying to make that the quick win that people want inside of HubSpot? Like, can
Yes,
we just unify our data first? Like before we start trying to email and like do everything else that's, you know, might be the revenue generating activity, but we're never going to get there if we don't start bringing our context like together in platform.
right. And did you feel that this area, when you brought the data for LinkedIn while you were in the process, and then you discovered, hey, it got added to source library? Did you feel it was going to mess with your CRM data, or did you think of this as like the separate area where you're just bringing in all your data, you'll figure it out later?
Uh, yeah, I didn't expect it to mess with my data,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, it didn't. So I think so now, as I think about what I would do next, let's say I convince somebody to just give me all the spreadsheets. Um, uh, I'm making an assumption that if I wanted to just start bringing those in,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is the only source button. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, let's go there.
yeah. So for me, if I'm importing, like, doesn't feel like I'm connecting it. So that's why it was an immediate like go there just to add more sheets.
Right, right.
Um, but this is a big one, Outlook context,
Mm-hmm.
and all of this stuff is built in. Um, I saw that you guys did um, Notion.
Yes.
That's a big deal. Yeah. So how does it like? I'm always interested. There's like a couple different updates. So this one was a little bit different from the other update we read, uh, because there's data sync elements, and then now here there's data sets and used in Data Studio. Like there's multiple teams are usually working together to make this kind of stuff happen. Yeah.
Yes. So for like the data sync component, it's more when you know the data should sit in your data model in HubSpot CRM, when you know it like works well with what you have in CRM. Studio specifically, there could be so many different sources that they don't necessarily fit in your CRM data model, but you want to reference or access them and combine them. It could also be one-time use data, like you went to an event and you collected attendee interest or something of that sort. So how do you still use HubSpot and its connectors and bring all the context in one place, but not worry about how does it fit in with the data model? Should I create a new object? Should I add more properties on existing ones? So that's where you'll choose the studio path versus like writing directly to CRM.
Okay.
So in your listing sheet, you already, the YouTube data that you brought, you already had an object sits well. I think their data sets power is if you want to do any calculation or enhancement before you write it to CRM, versus maybe there could be another sheet of data that you don't want to bring into CRM, but you want to use it for reporting or other use cases. Studio
Right.
workspace.
And so, is there a decision tree or framework that you help users with in terms of should I make it a part of my data model or not?
Yeah, it depends on what your use case is or what your need is and who is managing your HubSpot data model. You don't want to have 100, 500 plus properties on contacts that you've all used once. So someone has to go and clean it up. Maybe that best use for that is just having it in Data Studio, use it in your automation or segmentation, but not write it to your CRM. So it's a little bit of data hygiene, a little bit of what use case you have. So we can walk through that. There is also a resource which I can drop in the chat later for popular use cases for Data Studio.
Awesome. Yeah. And this one here is super relevant, right? And another decision that might have to be made in terms of I have zero,
Mm-hmm.
and I at some point I'm going to ask um, my accountant to let me have API access or admin access. And the plan was going to be to use the Zero app integration. Is this is this a shortcut to that? And it's the same one as on the marketplace?
Yeah,
Or okay.
it is the same integration, just different usage. So if you bring it in Studio, you're keeping it in Data Studio, not writing it to your CRM. You can choose to write to a CRM. That's always an option. But there is also an alternative path, which is like just directly write a CRM. I don't want to think about it. I exactly know how it maps to my data model.
Okay. So maybe if these objects aren't ready yet in HubSpot, um, I can bring it here first, map it against the data, and get comfortable with it. And then, because oftentimes, like, we've got automation set up in the system, and if we're just going to start adding more data, it's going to cause issues.
Yeah,
So if we brought it into here, we could still separate it into these data objects, but
right.
not have to put them into CRM objects yet.
Yes. And it would stay here. It would be synced every 5 minutes or so. And
Right.
you can always view it. You can even create reports from it. Then maybe decide if you want to do a calculation and write it. You want to use AI on it, but it doesn't have to directly sit in CR. So it just depends on what state the data model is in, what is your use case. If it's easy enough that you just want a continuous sync running to your HubSpot objects, you go the data sync route.
Okay. That's like the perfect bridge. Um, and this is the kind of stuff that can just dramatically speed up like an integration or implementation project, right? So much work is done to map outside of these systems that's like it's so much harder to explain or get buy-in or all these things when you're just showing mural boards or lucid charts. And when we can bring it into HubSpot and look at it right next to each other without impacting the data in the system, wow, there's so much opportunity. So that's why we're doing the show. Like, oh man, how do we help people learn more about this? And like, I guess, what are your, like, if somebody has Data Hub, um, what are your like top 3 use cases that are almost always uh, like a value driver, even if you don't know like what their business is or what they might have outside of HubSpot?
So, marketing automation comes to mind the most if you have data living in either apps or spreadsheets outside and you still want to use it without messing up your CRM data. You can always bring it in, combine with your HubSpot contacts, and then use a data agent or smart column that we just saw to create specific emails that is based on the data that you have externally, the data that you have in HubSpot, and create a personalized email. You will obviously have to have the human in the loop who's validating everything, but use that in an automated workflow to send emails as well. And there you can like segment them based on the different interests or different products, send them different copy of emails. There is also the desire to segment your data or your contacts so that you can inform your teams on how do we run these campaigns better for different segments. But that data lives in, say, Stripe, or if it lives in your data warehouse or your sheet, how do I bring that in and I'll not write it if it's a one-time use property and still filter on it and create segments. So those two are popular. The other one is reporting for sure because so much is happening within HubSpot. a lot is also happening outside. How do we combine both those stories? Basically, what you were doing with your LinkedIn and YouTube data, you could blend the data with what you have in HubSpot, create reports from it. Finance data is another popular source where people want to report on that within HubSpot.
Yeah. Um, Very common back office data,
Hmm.
wherever it is, often tells us what the relationship looks like. So, uh, man, I feel like I just scratched the surface here. uh, um, I'll have to do a part two at some point because
I would
there's,
love to. There's so much to cover in this. I was wondering how would we go.
yeah, like this is very exciting. Just saw custom events came down to pro
Mm-hmm.
level today. Um, Warehouses, uh, like there's just so much stuff that used to like that people pay a lot of money for, and it's a separate system that we can do in HubSpot now. Um, so this is, yeah, well, we'll definitely have to do a part two. Um, and yeah, anything else you want to hint at or things being worked on?
Um, well, we are always open to if there are any sources that people want to connect and they're not already available. There is a route to get it, throw the data in spreadsheet and get it connected. But if there's specific sources anyone is looking for, do request it either through that button which says request it here or send it my way as well. Um, and let us know different use cases everyone is using it for. The goal was make it accessible for everyone in HubSpot to have data available for use. It shouldn't go through multiple systems and be locked in different silos. How do we help them get everything in one place to make more informed decisions and do the activities that drive revenue?
I feel like you're doing that. That was super easy to do. And that's where everybody's got spreadsheets, whether it be Excel or Google. Um, and you probably can't understate the ability to just test it out. It's not going to impact your data. And you can just start to, slowly but surely bring stuff together inside of the same platform. Um, so I can only imagine as we go out into the other tools, like having data sets available. Um, Very, very powerful. So thank you for going a little bit long with me today. And I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this on the morning show as more data becomes available,
Mhm.
and we'll keep trying to help people understand the power that they have here with Data Hub and Data Studio. So thank you so much for coming to hang out today, Jasmine.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And please keep giving feedback on studio or other things.
Will do. Until next time, have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks, Jasmine.
Thank you.